London is one of the most incredible cities in the world. I know I'm biased because I live here, but there's a reason why I chose to live here. But with any big city, sometimes it's nice to get out of the hustle bustle, just immerse yourself in nature and slow things down a bit. And if you're looking for that, there is no better place than the Seven Sisters to escape London. This is actually a place I had never heard of before moving to the UK, and when we were staying in Brighton before deciding to move to London, our friends took us here and I was just in awe. I couldn't believe I had never heard of it. So let me tell you everything you need to know for this day trip from London to the Seven Sisters. So to get here from London, you'll take the train to Seaford. There's a train that leaves Victoria Station about every 30 minutes or so, and it'll take about an hour and a half with one change. And the price will of course depend on what day and time you're going and how far in advance you book, but expect to pay about 20 to 25-ish pounds round trip unless you have a rail card, which I highly recommend getting if you are planning a few trips outside of London on your England vacation. It'll cost you £30 to get the rail card, which is valid for 1 year and gets you 30% off or more on all train journeys. You'll just need to download the Trainline app, make an account, then go to your account, click on rail cards, and then you can purchase it right there depending on which category you fall under. For me, it's the 26 to 30-year-old rail card. Then once it's purchased, you just make sure to click whatever rail card you bought when you're searching for train journeys, and you'll see how much of a discount you get. So if you do have the rail card, expect to pay about 13 to 15-ish pounds round trip for the London to Seaford journey. So right there, you've made back a decent amount of the money that you spent on the rail card. I really can't recommend getting a rail card enough. Once you arrive at the Seaford railway station, you can walk straight from there for 15 minutes to the Eastbourne car park, and this is where you'll start your hike. You'll follow the path in front of the Seaford Head Golf Club and continue on from there along the cliffs. It's a very self-explanatory hike. You just follow the cliffs until they end, essentially. Of course, you can end the hike wherever you see fit, but if you do make it all the way to the end, you'll end up in Eastbourne. In total, that would be just under 21 kilometers and would take a little over 7 hours to complete. The hike is basically you going up a very steep hill and then down, up and down, and that continues on for each of the 7 hills that make up the silhouette of the cliffs and give it its name, the Seven Sisters for the 7 hills. And the bright white color of the stone is due to the amount of chalk that makes up for most of the front of the cliffs. After about an hour and a half or so of walking, the path will lead you from the cliffside onto a rocky beach, and depending on how much rain there's been lately, you'll need to cross a small stream on the beach to continue on to the next set of cliffs. For us, it was about ankle deep, so we just took off our shoes, we crossed, and then we plopped down on the stones to enjoy some snacks while our feet dried a little bit. But our friends went a few months later after it had been raining a lot, and it was up to their knees. They did say people on the hike had told them that there was a bridge, but it does add on about a mile to your hike, so I personally don't think it's worth it. I think it's better to just cross the stream and keep going in a straight line on the path. We personally didn't do the entire hike. We hiked for about 3.5 hours and ended at the National Trust Burling Gap, where you'll find public toilets and a cafe. So even if you do want to do the entire hike, it is an ideal place for a break. There's a rocky beach here where a lot of people choose to relax with some homemade lunches or snacks, or feel free to go inside the cafe and grab some tea and a pastry like I did. hike actually looks like it ends in Burling Gap, but it doesn't. So if you want to continue on, walk across the parking lot and you'll find the trail on the left of the red phone box. Walk up the hill and at the top, follow the path on the edge of the cliff and continue on past the beachy head inn. A few hundred meters past the inn, you'll start to see a variety of path options. It's not just one clear path, but don't worry too much because all the paths lead to Eastbourne as long as you pick a path that's going away from the main road, so northeast. So whether you want to do the full hike to Eastbourne or stop in Burling Gap, you can easily hop on a bus back to Seaford to catch your train back to London or wherever you're headed to next. Or if you plan in advance and you know for sure you're going to do the full hike to Eastbourne, you can buy a train ticket from London to Seaford and then the return from Eastbourne to London, so there's no need to head back to Seaford. But if you do end the hike in Burling Gap, like we did, there is no train station there, so you'd have to take a bus back to Seaford to catch your round trip train or onward to Eastbourne to get a train from there. In my personal opinion, the hike was perfect ending at Burling Gap. I don't really see a need to continue on to Eastbourne simply because you're seeing the exact same view the entire time. It's not anything new or different. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but after 3.5 hours of hiking with the, these same stunning white cliff views, I don't really think that you need to continue on for over 3.5 hours more for the same views. Plus, it was really nice to end at the cafe, get a hot cup of tea and a little treat before hopping on the bus. It just felt like the perfect amount of hiking, but of course, if you're a serious hiker, you might prefer to do something longer, so just trust yourself, base it off your own body and how much you like to hike, but just know if you end at Burling Gap like me, it's still an amazing hike. Fun fact, the Seven Sisters were actually the backdrop for the scene in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire when Harry and the gang used a portkey to go to the Quidditch World Cup. And if you're a huge Harry Potter fan like me, make sure to check out these other Harry Potter filming locations around London.